It's very weird, right? Why would anyone confuse those two games together? For anyone who has played both of those games, Planet Crafter and Satisfactory are incredibly different games from one another, and their differences are far bigger than anyone can imagine. But is it though? Entire emphasis right here is for the ones who have played both games. But what if someone has played only one of them or none of them? If you look at those games, they might seem very similar, and this comparison becomes far less far-fetched than it might seem at a first glance. So you know what we'll do is we'll be comparing Planet Crafter and Satisfactory with each other to give you an actual similarities and difference between those games, to give you a good understanding which one is for you and which one should you play and which one should you ignore. But let me get one thing straight out of the way. Both of those games are absolutely amazing. They're both complete experiences, already fully launched, and their own respective genres. Those games are absolutely amazing and beautiful experiences, which I highly recommend for everyone. Now, of course, depending on which genre of the games you prefer, let's give you the biggest difference between those games, and biggest thing that you need to understand with those games is the genre. Starting with Satisfactory, it is actually a factory automation game. Even though there are not a lot of first-person factory automation games out there, what usually people associate with factory automation games are games like Factorio. Satisfactory is factory automation game through and through. Your entire gameplay is built around building a bunch of different structures and factories in order to mine resources and build a bunch of different goods in thousands. Yes, entire point of those games are scaling and producing more complex and more goods. Well, Planet Crafter is a completely different game because technically it is a survival genre. And even though Satisfactory has some survival elements, like for example you have some environmental hazards, it is very far away from survival games, unlike the Planet Crafter. Planet Crafter, you need to actively survive in this world. You are thrown on this barren planet and anything and everything is trying to kill you, starting with the planet itself, because you don't have atmosphere to protect you, you don't have oxygen, you don't have water, you don't have food, and well, basically environment itself is trying to kill you, and you are trying to survive. But it also is a terraforming game where the entire goal is to transform world around you. And speaking of this, let's talk about the actual goals of both of those games. Yes, even though genres are different, the goals itself are also quite unique within its own genres as well. Like for example with survival games, usually what happens is that you are becoming more and more adapted to the environment around you by having better equipment, better bases, and better tech in order to survive better. But what you do in Planet Crafter is you're actually transforming the world itself around you. You yourself do not change that much, even though you do as well, but the world around you changes much more drastically. Like for example, you're actually actively creating atmosphere around you, creating oxygen, even going as much to create an actual rainfall, to create a water reservoirs in the world, and even seeding life around you. So what you do is you basically transform the world around you from an absolute barren wasteland into an actual paradise where anyone and everyone can survive. While in Satisfactory, it's very different. Well, because of the genre, of course, but what you do is you actually have a goal and quotas of crafting certain number of certain goods. And you do this by going through different tiers of those goods, and with each tier you need to craft more complex goods and higher number of those goods, by starting from very basic iron ingots to going into a quantum tech. And unlike Planet Crafter, environment here is not actually trying to kill you, except for the few things like hostile wildlife and some spots on the planet itself. And what is very interesting is that the world you start in Satisfactory is already a paradise. So technically, if you think about this, you can actually play Planet Crafter and Satisfactory one after another, just like a sequel to each other. Like for example, you can start playing by Planet Crafter, going into this barren wasteland of a planet and transforming it into a paradise, and then moving to Satisfactory, where you start in a paradise and where you pave over it completely to create your majestic giant factories, transforming into a tech marvel. So you can actually kind of connect those two games together. But they're not only differences, there are similarities, and those similarities are the reason why actually people comparing these two games with each other. First and most important thing, it is a first-person perspective. In both games, you're playing in first-person perspective, and what you usually see only is your hand and your tool in it. And that is the reason why people are trying to compare those two games together. That is the most important reason. And in the beginning, when you start playing this game, they look quite similar to one another. But as you progress towards the goals of each game, big games are becoming much more different. It's also similar with its start. You basically land on a drop pod on a planet, and this might be also another reason why people are comparing those two games to one another. And also games are quite similar visually, even though Satisfactory looks much much better with its higher fidelity. Both games also feature cooperative multiplayer, so you don't have any type of competitive multiplayer with each other, and both games are happening on an alien planet. That's as much similarities as I can go through, but those are quite big to confuse a lot of people. But as you start playing, you will understand that Planet Crafter is a bit more relaxed experience. Even though it's not very relaxing, it's a bit more relaxed because it's more focusing on exploration and moving around in the world, while Satisfactory it's still relaxing, but it's a bit more involved because you need to pay attention to a lot of different things all at the same time and juggle between responsibilities to make your factories as efficient as possible. But overall, if you want my conclusion, you need to actually play them both. Both of them are very unique experiences in their own respective genres, and even if you played other games in their respective genres, they still might be a different experiences compared to those games as well. So I highly suggest you to get both of those games and enjoy them fully. And this video is sponsored by channel's partner and supporter, Instant Gaming. If you want best games for the best prices all the time, all year round, without waiting for any sales, Instant Gaming is the way to go. You can find all types of games for all the different platforms, and most importantly, for the cheapest prices possible. And I also partner with Instant Gaming for epic game giveaway of your choice. So click the link in the description down below for your chance to win. Thanks to Instant Gaming for their support, and now let's get back to the video. And if you want to know more about Satisfactory, I have an entire review of it right here. And if you want to know more about Planet Curator, I have an entire video about that right here as well. Don't forget to subscribe right here as well, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. Take care.